Happy Labor Day, everybody. Welcome to another epic conversation with my daily, I should say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, LinkedIn Live. Now, I've had a lot of guests, but I don't think I've had a guest who goes way back like this cat. Arel Moodie is someone I've known for, wow, over 10 years now. I would say almost about 10 years. And he might not know this. I've told him this, but I'm going to say it on record. But he was a big impact on me becoming a broadcaster and a public speaker. Him at the time in one of his organizations gave me some initial opportunities, and I mean, this was before anything in my life was even worth talking about, but it was just super awesome of him and Michael Simmons and Sheena and the whole crew with that initial venture they were doing was just amazing. And Arel Moodie, in my opinion, is like one of the top public speakers. Obviously, he is the CEO of Read Oak LLC. He hosts this amazing podcast called The Art of Likability, and he's the founder of the True Speaking Success System. Now, some of you might be seeing him on the video here. He's wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey. Both him and I share an appreciation for the Black Mamba. And today's conversation is really about how to have a killer mindset, especially when you're in broadcasting, public speaking, and, you know, kind of more front-facing type of endeavors. So this conversation is really helpful for if you are a founder who's trying to pitch to raise money or do a presentation, you're someone in the business world who wants to do a presentation, or you yourself want to build your own personal brand, which is, you know, whether it's podcasting, whether it's public speaking, whether it's doing panels, there's all kinds of situations that this whole conversation can apply for. And I am so excited because one of the selfish reasons why I do this show is because I like to talk to people where I learned something. So I no doubt I'm going to learn something too. So thanks for joining us, brother.
Yo, super excited, Ash, you know, to see the trajectory of you in the last decade, to go from a guy who was like, yeah, I think I got some really, really cool things to say to you know, interviewing some of the top minds in the world has been just incredible. And I'm grateful that I can now in my bio put I've been interviewed officially by Ash Kumra. So that adds some sauce to what I get to do.
Yeah, nice, dude. I appreciate that, brother. Really do. Before we get into your the mindset conversation and your appreciation for Kobe, let's talk about your background. So I mentioned a few things, but for those who are wanting to know a little more about you, walk us through where you got to where you are now.
Yeah. So the very quick background on it, because I want to jump in and give as much to everyone who's watching. I appreciate everyone who is watching. Is, you know, I grew up in the projects on welfare in Brooklyn, New York. And, you know, being in that mentality, you think and you start believing that the world is either against you or that the system is set up to keep you down, whatever is the narrative that one might think. And I had that narrative. And it wasn't until I was fortunate enough to get into college that I met people who thought differently and saw me differently and saw a bigger vision of what I can be and who I can be to others. So that led to me being introduced to entrepreneurship, and I fell in love with it. And I started my first company when I was in college. It was a off-campus housing resource for college students. And while doing that, got to meet some incredible young entrepreneurs, just being around those people, which led to starting what was called Impact, which was previously Extreme Entrepreneurship Tour, with some really great people. We toured around the country spreading the gospel of entrepreneurship, if you will.
Yeah.
And we got to host great people like Ash as keynote speakers on that tour. But what was more fascinating for me on a personal level, which led me to where I am today, is that I got really intrigued by public speaking. I was going to event after event where there was just bad speakers. And I genuinely believed that this was like the price of admission to be successful. You've got to like listen to really boring people and just thug it out. And like, if you can get to the other side of it, it'll all make sense. And then when I actually finally got to experience really good speakers, it was the first time in my life that I was like, whatever that person's doing, I want to do that for others. And I've never experienced anything like that for anything else in this world. And for 14 years, I've got to travel the country, spoke to over 500,000 people, almost 750,000 to this date. 48 states, 5 countries, White House, you know, billion-dollar companies, inner city, schools, you know, rural America. So to be able to speak in so many different kinds of venues with different kinds of people, but understand the mindset of how to do well in those environments has greatly helped me. And I can't wait to jump in to help people, no matter who they want to speak to, give that best version of themselves and the best version that the audience needs to hear.
Okay, no doubt. And that was a great overview. Let's talk about mindset now, just getting to brass tacks. Like, what is your definition of mindset?
Mindset for me is how you look at the world when no one else is watching. This is the big key for me. I think everyone talks a good game about, hard work, effort, all that kind of stuff. But it's how you view the world when no one's looking or things aren't going your way. And when you have that right way to look at the world, you'll realize, and this is like the stuff that starts blowing your mind the more you really understand it, the way your mindset is and the way you view the world actually will bend reality to create that in the experience that you have as this thing called reality. So what that means is when you have friends who are always complaining because something bad's happening, bad things seems to always happen to them. When you have people who are complaining about all the horrible things in the world, horrible things keep happening to them. So it's not to say these things don't happen to you if you have a good mindset, but your reaction to them and your response to them differ based on how you choose to see the world.
That's amazing. Okay. And why do you feel, or I should say, what did Kobe Bryant's legacy and legend teach you about that? Obviously, you and I had an offline conversation, and I was very pleased with the jersey because we were talking about the whole Mamba mentality. Why Kobe?
Yeah, the quick background and why this jersey means so much to me. This is actually the first time I'm wearing this jersey ever.
Whoa!
Literally the first time I've worn it because it was given to me recently as a gift. I've never owned an NBA jersey in my life, like never. And I remember saying to myself, well, I've never owned one because I never was connected to a certain player so deeply. There's the ones you can buy because they're safe. Like everyone can get a Jordan jersey. It's a safe jersey to buy, right?
Yeah.
But what I realized when I thought about players, and it's like, I like the LeBrons of the world. And when I was younger, I liked players like Sean Kemp. But what I realized as an adult is I've consumed like every video that probably exists on Kobe Bryant. I've seen every interview. I've read his book. I'm currently reading his children's book with my kids. And I realized that I'm wildly connected to his like almost manic attention to detail. Now, his craft is basketball. That's not my craft. My craft is speaking. But I'm so blown away with how he looks at the detail of what basketball is at a level so almost ridiculous to the average viewer that it seems unnecessary. But what I take from that is that mindset, that's what it takes to be great. So it's not necessarily the version of Kobe that people like to show, which is he was a bad teammate or he just wanted the best from people. And if you weren't willing to give him that, and I'll say this because I think it's worth saying, and one of the reasons I loved Kobe when he said this, he said, all of my teammates who ever said I was a bad teammate, we weren't on a championship team that year. He said every single team that's a championship team, those guys love me because I pushed them to be the best versions of themselves and they rose to the occasion. The people who didn't rise to the occasion, those are the ones who hate me. And it was just a totally different way to look at his legacy. So I love his mindset towards detail. I love his mindset towards trying to be the best in your craft, not just be good, but literally he was on this quest to be the best in his craft. Whether he achieves it or not is irrelevant. It's the quest. And I resonate with that on my own quest.
So two things I loved about what you said. One is celebrate the journey. Focus on the result. Obviously, you want to win. There's nothing wrong with winning. It's the best version of yourself as long as you do it in a healthy way. There's a difference between competing with yourself versus trying to compete with others just to prove to others. And then the other thing I liked is in order to celebrate the journey, you got to be really patient. Patience is everything. You might say, I'm going to increase my revenues in this for 1 year, but in reality it might take 2 years, or I might have a new business, or I might get X amount of speaking engagements in X amount of time. It might not happen on that date, but if you continue the journey with that mindset, there's a high chance you'll achieve it. Would you agree?
Yeah, and one of the biggest things I've learned about goal setting is I totally look at goals wildly differently than I did probably when I was in my 20s. Which was, I'm going to make $6 million by November 15th and vacation 14 times before then. And I'm going to write it down and I'm going to look at it every day. And that's how I looked at goals. But the dirty side of goal setting that no one really talks about is, well, what happens when the date that you set passes and you didn't achieve the goal?
Yeah.
What's that mental toll if you don't have the right mindset? The mental toll is, why am I such a loser? Why do I keep messing up? How come everyone else seems to achieve their goals except me? And what I
Yeah.
find is that if you actually hold on to the goal itself, and like the achieving this goal is
Right.
more important to me than anything else, and I'm going to be obsessive about attaining it. If the November 15th date passes and you didn't achieve it, it's not like you get down on yourself. You just go, how do I speed things up? How do I get it? And then when you get it, a month, 2 months, 2 years later, it's not any less sweet because the goal was more important than the deadline. The deadline is just supposed to get lazy people off the couch. But most people will miss the goals, and it's the deadline, excuse me, but they'll still achieve the goal. But if you let the deadline be the reason why you're excited or not, you'll find that you'll be more disappointed in this life than joyful.
So one other topic that you and I have been recently talking about is taking care of our body, or sound mind, sound body. And one lesson I learned, I appreciate you mentioning that I've interviewed some great people alongside you. One lesson that I learned, especially from Dr. Oz, was I asked him point blank, Dr. Oz, you run 2 shows, you're a visiting doctor, you still do speaking gigs, sometimes all in one day. How do you manage your time? And he gives me this like attitude look, like as if I just said something blasphemous. He's like, it's not about time, it's about managing your energy. And I started to really grasp this concept of energy management. And I've talked about this with a lot of people, but I've come to realize, even talking with you about how you stay optimal is what I call it, is that the better you manage your energy, such as diet, when to work, when not to work, work-life balance, whatever you define that as, there's no one way, you have a more likely chance of sustaining yourself. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the beauty and the curse of youth is, as the saying goes, is wasted on the young, right? So when you're in your 20s, you could, stay up till 4 a.m., wake up at 7 a.m., eat pizza, and then drive 6 hours, do a speaking engagement, jump on a phone, and you're just like, yeah, but literally when you're in your 30s and beyond, you don't have that luxury. Like you can't. I used to be able to drive 7 hours straight, never take a break, sleep 2 hours, eat chips and juice or whatever on the road, and be totally energized for these. You can't do that anymore. Like once you pass 30, you got to start realizing, what I put in and how I exert myself gives me the ability to do that. And if you don't, just take a look. Like I'm a parent, and one of the things I love to do is look at parents at the park, right, with their small children. And you'll see only a small percentage of parents are actually jumping around with their kids, playing with their kids, not just pushing them while they look at their phone, but I mean like being active with them. And I was like, you know what? It's because they can't. They say that, I'm not interested, but I think a lot of them just can't keep up with their kids. So my mindset was, how do I eat and how do I train myself so that my kids can. They're never going to outwork me. Like if my kids are out energizing me, outworking me, that's a problem because they're like 5 and 7.
Yeah.
But if you look at a lot of people, that is the case. So I think it's about realizing what stage of life you are. Because in your 20s, if you're listening to this in your 20s, you may not understand this whole idea of energy management because you would just go, go, go. But once you pass 30, you start realizing I got to take care of myself.
Okay. Well, I would say 2 things on that. One is, even if you are in the 20s, using your example, and you still, and you're like, well, I have this optimal energy, or I can go. Yeah, but you're setting yourself up for potential failure down the road, because every whether it's injuries, whether it's mobility, whether it's your habits, if you don't fix it early on or set a foundation, it doesn't work. And also, if you study any successful entrepreneur, I don't care what kind of business, the most successful ones had a consistent style. They consistently just went, even if they're in their 20s and 30s or about to hit the 30s. They probably learned from the people in their 30s or 40s. And so that's my suggestion for people who might be like thinking like, well, doesn't apply to me. No, it does, because you will set yourself up for a better future. Because it's not about what success can I do right now. It's about what success can I build in the long run. And one other thing, bro, I totally agree with you about this. One of the reasons why I'm so into just doing whatever I can to be more optimal is because it feels good that I'm in my 30s, but I have as much energy as someone in their 20s. I can run over people in their 20s, and it's not a brag; it's a fact. It's just I've seen this happen, and it's because I put in the work. And so my question to you on that is, what are things that you do, whether it's daily or weekly, that help you stay on top as a parent, so you're going to be the guy who can swing your kids for hours and hours, or have the energy when you need to get in that go mode, which often happens to entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So I do three very simple things in terms of health very consistently. Well, four. I'll give you four. Right. There's probably a lot more, but I can think of four very easily. Number one, I try to drink up to a gallon of water a day. Right.
Good.
So I just try to. Do I do it every day? No. Do I try to every day? So it's either, sometimes it'll be half a gallon, sometimes it'll be a gallon. But the water consumption is and has been very big for me. Number two, I have a chin-up bar in my closet doorway, right? So literally, if I go to the bathroom, 10 chin-ups. If I leave the bathroom, 10, and you can do 10 chin-ups. Well, I can do 10 chin-ups probably in like 12 seconds, right? Roughly. So it's like 10 to 12 seconds of my time, but I can get in, dozens, if not close to 100 in a day without even thinking about it. So just something little, like it could be every time I'm about to jump on Facebook, 10 push-ups. You can create anything, but create a very small metric of working out that you can do throughout the day. In addition to that, I limit my sugar and alcohol content to single digits in a month. So what that means is I'm only allowed to have sugar or alcohol 9 days at most every month. So that means 21 days, I'm eating clean and healthy. And on 9 days, I give myself permission to say, hey, I want to eat it. Now, my goal, I haven't gotten there yet because sweets is my Achilles heel, is to get it down to, 5 a month, and then 4 a month and something like that, like try to get it down to the lowest number possible. But I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. But as long as I don't go into double digits, it was a successful month for me. And then the last thing I do is I work out, but I work out with my friends. I'm not one of those people who, I admire those people who get up by themselves and it's just them and the iron and they're clanking weights and all that.
Yeah.
But when COVID wasn't an issue, I had a personal trainer who is a friend of mine, and we'd work out. And, I liked working out, not just to work out, but because I got to socially bond with someone who's a friend of mine. And when COVID hit, I started doing virtual workouts about 5 days a week, honestly. And they've turned into sacred spaces. Like me and my boys, they're all entrepreneurs as well. Michael Simmons, as you mentioned, he's one of them. And Bert's the other guy. And then we have another guy who comes in too once a week. But we talk about business and we talk about life and we talk about relationships while we're working out. So it doesn't feel like, sometimes it feels like you're wasting time when you work out, which isn't the right mindset, but it feels like it. But if I'm doing it with people who I feel like I'm learning from while I'm working out, then I feel better about it. So we'll go on jogs and we'll talk to each other. We'll lift weights. We'll talk to each other. We'll stretch. So it's just a way of making working out more fun for me. So I encourage people, if you don't like working out, it's just because you're doing something you don't like. There's something you will love. Just find that and do it.
So I'm going to just, I know it's not a talk about fitness, but I want to bring up the chin-up thing because my latest obsession is exercises that are what I call either you do it or you don't. Some might tell it black or white. I mean, when I say black or white, it's like either you do it or you don't. It's like that terminology from like from back in the day, I guess. But either you do it or you don't kind of exercises where it's not as physically limiting for many. It's literally everyone can do it. So with pull-ups and chin-ups, if you can't do a pull-up or chin-up, totally fine. You can get a stretch bar. Let's say you have issues with your legs or your arms. There's, bands and things that you can use to help you get up. But the art of doing it every day, and it's not something that's good. It's not like, oh, darn, I'm getting up and I'm going to can't wait to do my pull-ups. No, I dread doing them often. But you do it every day, whether you like it or not. And often those habits or those things turn into habits. And so I love that you brought up the chin-ups. But definitely, that's cool, man. Let's dive into kind of the last part of this interview is the thing that I know you're very passionate about. The core of the subject is mindset and speaking and why you created your latest program. Let's just share us with your thoughts on all that, Art, please.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've realized, which is fascinating, is that right now, public speaking specifically, has become, I think, the single greatest tool to help people impact people, brand themselves, build a message, become a thought leader, And I would have thought that when COVID hit, that whole world was going to go away. But in actuality, it's increased tremendously because, and think about this, and you might be able to relate to this, there were these annual events you look forward to going to every year. That's the highest single deliverable of any organization or association is their annual event that brings everyone together. You now remove that these groups and associations are going, we have to do more events. We have to do more to engage our audience because we don't have that single big deliverable. So what we're actually seeing is there's more opportunities for people to get in front of people as a presenter. And when you think about it, and this is my big thing, I don't think there's anything wrong with ads or Facebook ads or interviews. I do all those. I love all that. However, people are built to not trust an ad, right? Like no one goes around, sees an advertisement and goes, I trust that ad right out the gate first time I've seen it. That's not how any of us are built. And with things like interviews or podcasts, people have to actually choose to show up and be a part of it. So when you get people in, it's a great way to build community and impact them. But what you find with public speaking, it's a great opportunity for you to go in front of a group of, say, 500 people who you've never met before and they've never met you. But they're in the house because of the organization or association that brings them together. You speak in front of them and you can go from a total stranger to within an hour, as you've experienced, because I've seen this happen to you, Ash, people running up to you afterwards going, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. How can I be connected with you? How can I learn more? Right. So it's one of the most powerful, fastest ways to truly, truly impact people. So what I've been doing is really helping people understand, one, the opportunity that's there, two, anyone can do it, especially people who have something good to say. And I spend more of my time helping people who are more business owners, executives, coaches, and consultants that like they have a track record of success, because that it's just easier to help someone who knows what they're talking about. There's a whole world to help people who don't, but I'm not in that particular world. You got to know what you're saying. And then you distill it to the single most important ideas that audience can hear. I'm happy to go into the process of it so that by the time that hour's up, you have all of these new people who love you and care about you and want to know more about what you do.
Yeah. What kind of steps you want to share, your process?
Yeah. So the very first thing to do is you want to ask yourself internally, what are the biggest core ideas that I need someone to buy into, to believe, to make what I'm talking about make sense? I'll give an example so it's not so esoteric. Let's say I'm someone, all right, so I was talking to a guy and his business is, he does boxing, like literally, not like boxing, like he makes cardboard boxes for people, right? Like, so if you're a company, you would make your widget, right? Like your glasses, and you got to put it in a box to ship it. And his whole mindset is most people miss the boat on their packaging because they're just trying to get the cheapest, easiest thing, throw it in a box, ship it out. So if you look at most products, they don't put a lot of effort into boxing. So the idea that he had to get people to buy into is that the experience that someone has when they open your product is marketing, is part of the process, and not something that's just to be thrown in a bag. And then you give examples of like how Apple did it and changed the game. And then you give examples about how people jump on YouTube and do unboxings of new products. No one's going to do an unboxing of a product that's in a crappy box, right? Yeah. There's got to be some elegance to it. So he has to first get people to buy into the belief that if you put something in the right kind of sexy, connected, streamlined, organized, coherent box that makes people excited about videotaping themselves opening it, that's marketing, because there's free YouTube videos about people unboxing. There's people who don't throw your box out because it's so nice. There's people that reuse it. So all of that, he has to sell them on this idea before he can even introduce why, companies like him are great people to partner with to help you do that. So if you're clear on what I need to make people believe, you can build that in over here at the beginning of your presentation so that people are bought into the idea. So that by the time you introduce your coaching, your consulting, your product, your service, it makes them go like, well, I'm bought into this idea over here. I know that this is important. This person clearly knows what they're talking about. Who else would I want to learn from? Who else would I want to get this info? This person. So it's really important for you to get clear on what ideas, what beliefs do I need to make my audience believe and truly understand, and build it up so that it's undeniable. Then it becomes a natural flow for folks to connect with you more to get more of that information.
Wow. That's some knowledge. No, I really love that. That's super helpful. I know there's this, it's interesting. There's this trend happening right now of everyone is a personal brand. I mean, Gary Vee talks about it. I know you've talked about it. And if you want to go that route, which obviously I recommend, because I feel everyone has a gift, you need to master or get good at your speaking game. And
Yeah.
your formula that you just gave, the mindset approach, I get why you wanted to talk about mindset and speaking. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're reaching the 30-minute mark. I want to first thank you for this interview and really appreciate it. Really do. And if we want to get a hold of you, and I'll put something in the bio, what is the URL to learn more about, this program? It sounds amazing.
Yeah, very cool. So I would say, you can go to the website, which is truespeakingsuccess.com. That's probably the easiest place to get started. There's a little webinar that I did on how to attract people to book you to speak. So how to put yourself and position yourself to attract them. So you put in your name and email, you can get more info. I would highly, highly encourage, I actually like it. This is really important to me. I'm the only Arel Moodie in the world. Like, no one else with my first and last name. So my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my Twitter, it's all just Arel Moodie, one word. Connect with me on Instagram, connect with me on Facebook, connect with me on LinkedIn. I accept all requests. I don't block people. If people have questions, if you say, yo, I saw you on Ash is LinkedIn Live and I want to know more, I actually like helping people. It's a weird thing. I think
you really do. Yeah.
We should help more people. We just don't do it. So like,
it makes the world better. And it's like win-win because like,
yeah,
it's a selfish gain too, because when you help someone, you did some part of making the world better. So you automatically get this like endorphin rush, and then whatever you're working on is going to be better because you're in a good mood. And if you're in a good mood doing your work, you're going to do a better job versus being in a crappy mood. It's so everyone help people. I love it, man.
Yeah, super important. So please reach out at Arel Moodie on whatever social media platform you're on, except TikTok. I refuse to officially join TikTok. So if you're on Instagram or anything else, I'm on there. But I have to draw the line, and I can't make videos to WAP or Cardi B. I'm too old.
All right, man. Well, thanks again.
I appreciate you, Ash.